Hello and welcome back to Substream News. I'm Joseph, your presenter. This is your guide to the weird, the wild, and the wonderful from the world this week. And I'm afraid that this is going to be a little bit of a sad episode because we've got to say goodbye. Let's begin our goodbyes. The first goodbye is Skype. Now, this is going to sound really embarrassing and make me sound really old, but my first smartphone was a Skype phone S2. It was this really weird old phone that had Skype enabled on it and allowed you to make free calls from the phone. And back then, Skype was really popular. Everyone had Skype, at least in my circle. So it was a great way for me to keep in touch with friends and family for free. And as I couldn't afford an iPhone, it was a pretty good alternative. So I have some nostalgic love for Skype, and I'm kind of sad to see it go. But on May 5th, it will hang up for good. Yes, the credits have completely run out. And here's what's absolutely incredible. Skype is about 20 years old. It's been running for over 2 decades. It actually launched in 2003, so it's nearly 22 years old. And that's old enough, it seems, because it is being closed down by Microsoft, who own it, and who actually paid, I think, $8.5 billion for it, like years ago. Well, why? Why is Skype shutting down? The answer is obvious. If you're going to make a video call to a friend right now, what app would you use? Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Telegram, Discord, Facebook Messenger, FaceTime, Instagram. There are so many options for video calling right now that unfortunately Skype just isn't really needed. Like all of the major social medias pretty much have integrated video calling into their messengers. So Skype just kind of became obsolete. Yeah, this is the smartphone era and we just don't really need it. It's a shame because it was really good, and I would say up until the pandemic, Skype was still pretty big, pretty popular, still had hundreds of millions of daily users. But when the pandemic came, and you may remember this, Zoom really dominated. Zoom, became the one that everyone went to and focused on to socialize whilst we were quarantined or in lockdown. And so, yeah, Zoom really kind of won that war, even if it might not be winning right now. I don't have the data. Yeah, it kind of killed off Skype at that time. So what is going to happen to your Skype accounts? You might be asking. You might still be using Skype. What's going to happen? Your Skype account will be integrated into Microsoft Teams. And your logins will stay the same. Your entire chat histories will be there, will be preserved. All you have to do is log into Microsoft Teams with your existing Skype credentials, and it should all be there. And Microsoft are kind of sad to shut it down, and they've even said they were honored to have been part of Skype's story and journey. But let's face it, the times have moved on. So, goodbye, old friend. Bye-bye, Skype. Let's move on to the next goodbye. Okay, guys, the next goodbye is for Hooters. Now, farewell, Hooters. I've never actually been to a Hooters. Have you? Could you tell me in the comments, is it as good as they make out in the movies? Or as good is even the word? All I know is it's a wing restaurant that hires attractive women to, I don't know, get men to order more? I'm not really sure what the point is. Maybe it's just their niche, their USP. It's the thing that they do. What happened recently in the last couple of years is that a group took over many franchises of Hooters. Now, Hooters is a franchise. It took over a big chunk of them, and they haven't done very well, let's say. So it's not that the entire Hooters brand is going to be shutting down, but just a selection of them. So independently owned ones, where it's one owner in one location, will not really be affected by this. In fact, due to scarcity, they may even benefit from people who want to go to Hooters, but their nearer Hooters are shut down because of this news, and so they will go there. That could happen. Now, let's just say it's not going to happen yet. It's not 100% sure. but all the reports suggest that they are flirting with bankruptcy, and that's not good news for Hooters. They've already closed 40 locations this year due to market conditions, and that trend looks set to continue. The wider company is quite optimistic that they will recover from this bad spell. And it's not just that. There's also been a big lawsuit recently about rehiring practices over COVID, and they had to pay out some fines, and that wasn't good. But they're not alone. This isn't the first story I've shared where it's restaurant chains that are really suffering. Not that I'm massively sympathetic for multi-billion-dollar companies, but since 2015, average restaurant prices are up almost 50%, which is incredible. And 6 massive pizza chains actually went bankrupt last year. That's to do with the lingering effects of COVID and the change of human behavior, rising costs of raw materials and staff and rent and things like that, and just general consumer tastes changing. People maybe just don't want wings as much. They might want avocado toast. Who knows? Millennials for sure. So, yeah, this could be goodbye to Hooters, but we don't know. What we do know is TGI Fridays went bankrupt recently, and we all had to say goodbye to them. Not that I'd been to one for probably 15 years, but here we go. So independent Hooters should be fine. Hooters that are part of chains or groups, not fine. Anyway, let's move on to another goodbye. Another one. Guys, you may notice I have a new phone. Yes, I've just upgraded from the iPhone 13 mini to the iPhone 15. And one reason I did that was because the battery life on my iPhone 13 was terrible. I had to charge it midday to get to the end of the day. So the battery life was half a day. It just depleted terribly. And what I didn't know at the time is I probably did it to myself. Now you think, of course, batteries naturally deteriorate over time. Sorry guys, I should be a better presenter and not jumble my words up like that, an accidental portmanteau. But batterily speaking, what happens is we interact with the batteries, we charge them in different ways and have different behaviors, and they actually damage the batteries in different ways. I'm going to give you 4 incredible tips that help you preserve your battery life so that you don't have to say goodbye to your beloved iPhone, because I actually loved my iPhone 13. It was small, it was efficient, and if there was a 15 mini or a 16 mini, I would have got that. Phone screens are too big. I don't like this as much, but I'll get used to it. Anyway, 4 tips here. Number 1, don't charge your phone to 100%. Keeping your phone, fully charged actually stresses the battery. Trying to keep it at 100% is having to work harder to stay at 100%. What you want to do is try and keep it between 20 and 80%. So once it hits around 80%, take it off charge, let it go down to around 20, recharge. That actually preserves the battery life over time. Number 2, most smartphones now have some kind of battery optimization feature, which you can find in your phone. Optimized battery charging is on iPhone, and then you have adaptive charging on Android. So have a look through your phone. If you have a Huawei or an Oppo or something like that, you might have a different one. If you saw our last video, you'll know all about the Oppo N5. Amazing. Have you bought one? I wish I could. I actually asked when I went to buy my iPhone. They said don't have them for another month. Okay, tip number 3. Avoid using your phone while charging. Now, this one, so many people are guilty of. Your phone's running low on battery. You go, oh, I need to charge it. Boom, you plug it in and you keep playing on it. And your phone gets hotter and hotter. And hot batteries are not good batteries. Actually, you want to keep your phone cool. So allowing your phone to overheat damages the battery. And that degrades it and makes it less efficient over time. So don't do it. And number 4. This one, I think people are victims of this because in my experience, whenever I've bought an iPhone, the cable that comes with it is rubbish. They don't last very long. That may be my experience. And my MacBook charger cable is falling apart right now. Why does Apple provide these rubbish chargers? Saying that, when I bought this phone new the other day, it came with a really good new style of charger that I hadn't seen before. So maybe Apple have changed things. But the final 4th tip is stick to the original charger that came with the phone. Why? Because cheaper chargers damage your batteries and over time. That's it. They are not as good at transferring energy from the source to your device as the original charger. And it's just the fact that the company who made your phone built it that way. Small changes, big impact. Those are 4 tips so that you don't have to say goodbye to the phone you love. Goodbye, iPhone 13, I miss you. Okay, let's move on. Okay, guys, I'm going to talk a little bit quietly here because I don't want to get sad, but this is a sad goodbye. We may be saying goodbye to ebooks, and that's sad because I'm a big reader. I love books. Books are amazing. I would fight for books. Amazon has just killed off the download and transfer via USB option for Kindle books, and that means that there's no more downloading of your ebooks without Wi-Fi. Basically, Amazon is a walled garden and you are completely at mercy of their decision, and it means you'll only be able to access books from their library. Your library from outside of Amazon's ecosystem will not be accessible. It is for now, but maybe by the time you see this video, it's done. So I'm going to give you some tips on how you can quickly manage your external library of ebooks. And yeah, here's what you need to do. Number 1, go to Amazon, click Accounts and Lists, then Content Library and Books. Right? Once you're in Books, click More Actions next to the book you want, and then select Download and Transfer via USB. Okay, this is the feature that's going to be disappearing. Once downloaded, you can then use tools like Calibre. I'm sure many of you know Calibre to convert or read them DRM free. So Calibre is like an open source tool that you download. It's a software for your computer that allows you to change the file types. So you might want to change from EPUB to MOBI, or MOBI to PDF, or PDF to EPUB, or whatever, different ebook file types. And you can do that now for a little while, unless they've expedited this feature change. But yeah, this is actually kind of sad news. It means that Kindles will only work with the Kindle store. It means that you won't be able to import any other books that you have from outside of it, which means if you like pirating ebooks, your Kindle will not host them once this change goes into effect. Now, of course, you can go and buy an alternative ebook reader, an e-reader, but you won't then have access to Kindle. So the trade-off here is to decide, what are you more loyal to? Kindle, Amazon, and its library of digital books and content, or all the other digital books and content and other e-readers and companies and open source knowledge and information? It's a tricky one to weigh up. I can understand why this is going to be a really hard decision for someone, but the worst outcome from this story is that people might read less. And in the current state of deteriorating knowledge and culture, people reading less is a bad thing. Young people doom scroll instead of acquiring knowledge, and it's really sad. And so I was always taught that books are the plane, the train, and the road, the destination, and the journey. And I just see that this news is saying goodbye to one popular route. That's how I see it. So let's move on before I get sad, because I love books. Bye-bye. Oh, wait, next one. And finally, on a lighter note, because we always end on a lighter note here at Substream News, we are saying goodbye to the sum of $81 trillion. Yes, guys, $81 trillion was accidentally deposited by Citigroup into one of their account holders' accounts. That's about 2/3 of all the world's money, more or less, right? Give or take a couple of trillion. So that's just by some estimates. Who knows? There could be more or less. So where did it go? Or did it even exist in the first place? No, not really, because obviously Citigroup doesn't actually hold that many trillions of dollars. So what happened is there was a clerical error made by a payments employee, and when the second official at the company of Citigroup went through all the transactions, they missed it too. Somehow the two of them missed a transaction of $81 trillion. Luckily, within an hour and a half, a third employee who was reviewing transactions spotted it and was able to reverse it. So no money actually left the bank, right? No money actually arrived in the person's account, but it was described as a near miss to regulators, and it does make things a little bit complicated for Citigroup when they have to go and do their taxes and auditing and reports, right? And based on this story, I want to ask you a question. What is the costliest mistake you've ever made? And I know some people might be cruel and say having children or, not going on a trip or something like that. But actually, I'd really like to know. Unfortunately, I had a few different anecdotes to share with you. But I want to give you one. And it's something that still bothers me years on. It's probably been 5.5 years since this happened. But I was working for a client, writing content for them. And they said, "Hey, Joseph, could you get us an image to go with this article?" So I went to Google Images and I changed the settings to Creative Commons or royalty free, right? Unlicensed. And I found a picture and I gave them the picture. And I thought nothing of it because that was my process back then. And a couple of weeks later, the company I was working with, they received a letter saying, "You stole an image and we're suing you. We're going to take you to court." And he forwarded it to me. He said, "This is your mess. Get me out of it." And I was quite upset by it because it was an honest accident. I hadn't meant to steal a licensed image, but it turned out to be a very costly mistake for me. So instead of replying to this ferocious lawyer who was so rude in the email, I actually found the image, I found the photographer, and I contacted him directly. And we had a really good chat about what it's like to be a young creative starter who really trying to make it on their own. So he sympathized with my position and I sympathized with his, and I explained how there wasn't really even a commercial angle on this photo and it'd all been a big misunderstanding, and we managed to settle. And the settlement was expensive. For me at the time it was a lot of my money, but it was a lot less than the lawyer had quoted. And I took a really hard lesson from that. And so my point is, be careful on the internet because you can do something so innocuous and it can cost you everything. And that's the danger of really any technology. So please do leave a comment and tell me your biggest and costliest mistake. And if it's related to technology, even better. Thank you for watching. I'm Joseph, your presenter. I haven't even asked you to subscribe yet, but now I am. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications and tell your friends and leave a comment and do any interaction you like. We appreciate it. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.